My name is Boone Cutler. This is Tipping Point with Boone Cutler. This is the warfighter perspective. I know you guys watch a lot of television because you're an American. That's what we do. I know you watch the news. And whenever anybody wants the warfighter perspective on the news, they're going to pop up some old general, maybe Ollie North. They're going to give him 2 minutes and say, okay, Ollie, here you go, sir. Give me your 2-minute warfighter perspective on a national or international issue. And he gets his 2 minutes every couple months. This show, the entire show, is the warfighter perspective. So if you're a civilian out there, get to know us. We're not going anywhere. And we're coming home in droves. We've been coming home. But now that the wars are winding down, you're going to see more of us. And you need to understand who we are. If you're a warfighter out there, this is your home. This is your base. This is your rally point. Your alpha, your fob, your cop. This is it. Stay with me. Work with me. I need you. Today's show, we're going to hit it hard. We're going to hit it fast. We're going to have Dr. Remington Nevin. Now, Dr. Remington Nevin may not be a name that you know, but if you ever took the anti-malaria pill, Mefloquine or Lariam, you need to listen to this show because the psychological effects, the brain damage that you don't know about may be a contributing factor to those feelings you're having about self-destruction, blackouts. You need to listen to the show. He just went to D.C. yesterday. This is a scoop here. Nobody's gotten this story on air right. But now I've got him on this show to talk to the warfighter because he stood before a Senate Appropriations Committee and said, this drug that you gave to the American warfighter is poison. It is the next Agent Orange. You have a responsibility to fix it. Our Vietnam veterans out there know exactly what I'm talking about when I say Agent Orange. Well, guess what? Here we go again. They've done it to us again. The suicide rate numbers just came out, higher than last year. And why doesn't everybody in America know about it? Because we are a novelty, people. We're also going to talk about discrimination in America against the American warfighter, especially when we're talking about employment. We're going to talk about conflict with law enforcement. We're going to talk about, stay tuned because you're going to like this, we're going to talk about the convention I just went to with the Western States Hostage Negotiator Association. 200 of America's most elite negotiators at the Grand Sierra Resort gave me the privilege of standing in front of them and explaining what has not been explained. We're going to talk about in today's show. We will be right back.
Warfighters, anyone that ever stood behind or in front of a gun to protect America.
I'm a real warfighter, dressed in fatigues. I will never lead you wrong, keep on following me. All these cowards all around us, yeah, we better than them. You're my family till we die, yeah, we more than friends. Let them talk if they want to, cause we gave them their freedom. Talking down all the time, thinking they really don't need us. Shed blood for our country, got love for our country. Come here and mess with it, we'll kill you for our country.
This is Lars Larson on Fox News Radio, and right now you're listening to Tipping Point with author warfighter Boone Cutler.
This is Boone Cutler with Tipping Point with Boone Cutler, KKFT 99.1 FM Talk, Northern Nevada's #1 FM Talk station on Fox News Radio. Right now, without further ado, the man that went to the Hill yesterday, that was up there talking with all those guys that controlling all the money for our warfighters, we've got Dr. Remington Nevin. Now, before I forget, Dr. Nevin isn't anybody's views but himself. And he's here today, and he's going to be talking about the hot new topic that, as has been quoted so far, I was looking at some hearings yesterday where he was testifying before, I think it was the Senate the Appropriations Committee. I'm not sure which one. We'll ask him about that on air. But we're also going to find out, why is Mefloquine, Lariam, why is it being considered the next Agent Orange? And what's the responsibility to get in front of it? How are we going to make this happen? Dr. Nevin, how are you doing, sir?
Hi, Boone. I'm great. How are you?
Well, you know what? I'm happy to be on the radio with you today because from the first time I heard, I think it was from a clip from the Special Operations Medical something or other last October, and you were discussing about all these effects of Mefloquine. I was immediately just mesmerized by everything you had to say because is it true? I mean, let's take it from the beginning. Mefloquine is an anti-malarial drug, but why would it be the next Agent Orange? And what is Mefloquine? What's it supposed to do, and what's it actually doing?
Mefloquine is an anti-malarial drug that was actually developed by the U.S. military in the 1960s. It was developed as part of a program to find a replacement for chloroquine, a drug that we had used in Vietnam and was beginning to fail. The malaria parasites were developing resistance. So when Mefloquine was first developed, it was thought to be a great drug, free of side effects, very effective, but there were early warning signs that the drug might be having an effect on the brain. Early reports showed that soldiers and test subjects administered the drug were experiencing profound vertigo and nausea, and a few were...
Now, the vertigo and nausea, and I know that's a little bit more common, but as you just said, psychosis. How common was the psychosis, sir?
It's difficult to know how common the psychosis in these early trials actually was. And the reason, Boone, is that the military tested this drug not on volunteers, but on prisoners.
Wow.
And enlisted soldiers who we now know probably would not have been as open to admitting these side effects as we would like.
Good point. You know, you got a bunch of warfighters out there, and they started maybe experiencing stuff, and, you know, there's a little bit ego involved, and so they don't want to say that there's a problem. Also, maybe they don't want to ruin their career by saying, I'm having a problem. People start focusing on them. Is that the type of situation you surmised was happening, or was it something different?
It's impossible to know, Boone, whether some of these test subjects had bad reactions to the drug that they just chose not to report. However, in the 40 years that have elapsed since the drug was first tested, if we repeat these trials today, we find a much higher rate of reporting. And I think that this means that these early trials were very biased as a result of the test subjects that were used. Prisoners that wanted to curry favors with the warden and seemed to be helpful volunteers for these studies, and enlisted soldiers who, as you said, would have many reasons not to report these severe side effects.
Now, Doc, if I may go even a little bit further, why was the testing on this particular drug done in that fashion? Was that the standard of the time, or why would this drug have been tested that way and other drugs be tested another way?
That's a very good question, Boone. By today's standards, the way Mefloquine was initially tested is completely unethical and unjustified. And in the mid-1970s, I do believe that this issue was raised, and testing moved to a more representative and voluntary group of test subjects. But unfortunately, by then, Boone, I think the damage had been done. I think that the reputation of this drug, one that was safe and relatively free of side effects, had become firmly established within the group of researchers that were involved.
Okay, so in the 70s, things kind of went a little bit sideways, and the reputation, this, that, and the other thing like you're talking about, why did it stay on the market? Because there's a lot of time between the 1970s to when guys were deploying to Somalia, when reportedly there were several side effects, like you're talking about the psychosis, that were affecting those warfighters on the ground that maybe created a little bit of havoc that maybe wouldn't have been created had they been on another type of medication. If I'm not mistaken, by that time, doxycycline had been come out and widely used for malaria, but we were still using Mefloquine. So at that point, why were we still using it?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Boone. Why the development effort wasn't completely halted and a safety stand-down performed when these first indications emerged that the drug was potentially neurotoxic. Well, understand, Boone, that Mefloquine's development was the end product of a decades-long development effort. We probably spent the better part of $100 million. Wow. And all we had to show for it was this drug, Mefloquine, and another drug, which was quickly found to be too toxic for use. So I think there was quite a bit of pressure to show something from this effort, and that might have a bias or influence the decision-making of some of the folks involved. I'm sure they wanted this drug to work, and they may have overlooked clear warning signs of the drug's danger as a result.
Okay, Doc, let's get some nuts and bolts here, because people are going to start throwing this around. You know, we've got a warfighter out there in Afghanistan, just got in a lot of trouble for killing 16 people, 17 people, reportedly on Mefloquine. But when you're talking about psychosis, Break that down for the average, everyday person. What is psychosis? What would it look like in a human being?
Yeah. Okay, well, let's just back up. So mefloquine belongs to a class of drugs called quinolines. These drugs were first discovered by the Germans, and they were tested extensively, both in Germany and the United States, during World War II. And what was discovered was these experimental quinolines were found to produce a very vivid and intense psychotic state in a small number of users. It's what we call an idiosyncratic reaction. So it doesn't affect everyone, but it affects enough people for it to be troublesome. The psychosis is best characterized as a dissociative psychosis. So the individual experiences hallucinations and delusions. They see and hear things that aren't there. But they're also delusional and gripped by often very intense paranoia and anxiety. Now realize that this is due to aberrant electrical activity in the limbic portion of the brain. This is the portion of the brain, Boone, that's responsible for our deepest emotions. It's the amygdala, the hippocampus, all the parts of the brain that are responsible for rage and fear, the self-preservation instinct. That entire system is just messed with by this drug. And the result is this dissociative, psychotic state that's often associated with aggression, acts of violence, impulsivity, and most frightening of all is amnesia to the event. You forget what you're doing when you're under its effects.
Okay, so amnesia to the effect to the event. Now, one of those symptoms that you were telling me about within the psychosis, you say self-preservation. That it affects your ability to want to stay alive. Is that what that means?
That's exactly right, Boone. There are numerous anecdotal reports of individuals suffering from mefloquine psychosis or mefloquine intoxication that develop an almost morbid and curious fascination with death and with violent objects. I'll relay a particularly troublesome story that was communicated to me by a service member. Their battle buddy was in the hotel room with them, and they were cleaning their weapons. Mm-hmm. And the service member seemed fine. He seemed a little distant, but there wasn't anything particularly odd about his behavior. He picked up his weapon, pointed it at him, told his friend, "Hey, you want to see something?" and pulled the trigger with no fear on his face.
And did he die?
It's frightening.
Was his weapon loaded?
Oh, yes, he did. Yes, it was.
Okay, Doc. Now let me break this a little bit further because people are going to want to know. Okay, we got warfighters listening right now, going, "Hey, I remember Doc walking out in the quad or wherever, and we're sitting outside my hooch, and he throws out these blister packs and says, "Hey, if you don't want to, start crapping yourself and get malaria, you got to take these pills." And so guys are throwing down these pills. Now, not recorded in medical records, not given out basically like a vitamin. And now you have these types of events that they may not even recall. Well, how long are the effects of mefloquine?
Yeah, it's a good question, Boone. And it's often been thought that, or it's been conceded, I should say, that even though these side effects are known to exist, the psychotic state is broadly accepted. It hasn't been appreciated until recently that mefloquine also causes permanent side effects. Now, if an individual is suffering from this frank psychosis or this frank intoxication from mefloquine, they're almost certainly going to have long-term side effects if they survive.
Right.
Even if they're only experiencing mild prodromal symptoms, and this would include vivid nightmares, heightened anxiety, perhaps a sense of paranoia, maybe some depression. This mild prodromal intoxication state we now think is linked to a risk of permanent neurotoxicity or brain damage, neuronal death from the drug. It's permanent.
It's permanent. Okay, now, here's the big question, suicide. Article came out today. I'm going to talk a little bit later on my show after you skedaddle and enjoy your life and stop blessing me with your time. But the suicide rate is up higher now than it has been, and I know there's some effects there because of the drawdown. People are being pushed out into an economy that basically doesn't exist. But let's look at it further. Could mefloquine be the explanation for so many suicides amongst those that never even could have been exposed to a post-traumatic event, post-traumatic stress-inducing event, or a traumatic brain injury? Because as I've heard, correct me if I'm wrong, that the effects of Mefloquine will actually mimic those that have PTSD or TBI.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Boone. And just getting to your last point, in a recent publication, the Centers for Disease Control even conceded that these side effects of Mefloquine can confound the diagnosis and management of post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury. So even the Centers for Disease Control, which had been a very staunch proponent of Mefloquine, is beginning to realize how dangerous the drug's use is in a military environment. But let's talk about suicide. There's really two separate issues. During an acute intoxication reaction, when someone is suffering from the effects of psychosis, might be completely dissociated and no longer have any fear of consequence, there's almost certainly a risk of this impulsive, seemingly senseless suicide of the nature that I just described. That probably plays some role in our suicide. But of greater concern, I think, are the suicides that might be associated with the despondency and depression that are associated with the condition's poorly understood long-term effects. Boone, you can imagine if a service member comes home from deployment and haven't experienced combat trauma and they haven't had a traumatic brain injury, and yet they come home feeling as though they have.
Right.
And no one understands the symptoms they're experiencing, and they're told by their doctor that everything is in their head and they must be faking it.
Right. Malingerers. They're calling them malingerers.
Exactly. Or the service member themselves starts to wonder, am I going crazy? What's wrong with me? Nobody understands and can tell me what's wrong with me. And certainly, Boone, the service member hasn't received proper education about the dangers and side effects of Mefloquine. If they had, they might develop some insight into their condition. But more often than not, the service member suffers in silence, not knowing that Mefloquine could be the cause of their symptoms. So it wouldn't be surprising at all to me, Boone, that a service member would take their life in frustration.
I understand, Doc. Hey, I'm going to let you run. Just we got to get on air again and talk more about this. Maybe we'll call it the second phase, the second edition, the second episode, because there's so much more. We got to get some callers on the line to be able to talk to you and things like this, guys that are experiencing these symptoms that have had Mefloquine. So I'm going to ask you, would you come back another time, sir?
Absolutely, Boone. It'd be my pleasure. It was great talking to you today.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. This is KKFT 99.1 FM Talk. Sit your ass in the seat. We will be right back.
Once every 45 minutes, one of our military veterans attempts to take their own life. Every 80 minutes, one of them succeeds. The Tranquil Valley Sanctuary, located in southern Idaho, provides a safe place where broken horses and broken veterans can heal together and hopefully reduce this horrific number. Through the use of equine therapy, America's veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, severe depression, as well as chemical addiction now have a second chance at a normal civilian life free from the shackles of PTSD, depression, drugs, or alcohol. They can't do it without your help. Your generous gift of $100 will feed one horse for an entire month. A mere $25 will sponsor a therapy session for one veteran. The Tranquil Valley Sanctuary provides hope, healing, and recovery for those veterans who feel they have no place left to turn. Make your donation online today at tranquilvalleysanctuary.org. The Tranquil Valley Sanctuary is a 501c3 organization. Donate online at tranquilvalleysanctuary.org.
Briscoe Sanderson, these days you're working with Eddie here at Nevada Matters Media, but that's not who you are. You're a musician. How long you been doing music, bro?
You know, I've been doing music my whole life. I remember being inspired in grade school by the music teacher, and it's literally changed my life, Boone.
Have you heard about this guy, Mike Pilates, running the Reno Band and Orchestra over off of North McCarran, doing a lot of work with kids. He's doing sales, rentals, repairs. Wonderful human being. How does that affect kids when they grow up in the music genre, when they do these types of things?
Well, I'll tell you right now, if he's doing things for children with music and arts in the schools, he's certainly doing the right thing.
And he is. He's doing stuff not just with kids of all ages, but also adults. Please contact Reno Band and Orchestra at 775-737-9560. Full service, sales, rentals, and repairs. Call Mike at Reno Band and Orchestra, 775-737-9560. All the way. Make it happen.
Hi, this is Elaine Voigt with My Journey Home, and I wanted to make everybody aware of the computers that we have for sale. The sponsors of the veteran shows here on 99.1 are sponsoring veterans. For $150, you can buy a veteran computer, mouse, monitor, and keyboard. So they have a computer to use at home, then it's loaded with Microsoft Word 7 and Microsoft Office 2007. You can reach us on our Facebook page which is myjourneyhomenv.org, or you can reach us at our office at 825-8118, 825-8118, and those computers are also available for anybody who needs one at home. They're $150. You can get a mouse, keyboard, monitor, computer.
Plus, all the training required to get that veteran back into the workplace and back into society. Plus, remember, listen to all of our veteran shows right here on 99.1 FM Talk, Fox News Radio. That's Tipping Point with Boone Cutler, The Wounded Veteran with Bill Thomas, and Situation Report with Dr. Robert Freeman.
Hey, this is Cheryl Lowhorn Scott, listening to Boone Cutler on Tipping Point. Why do warfighters listen to Boone? It's because it's the only place they can go to get the cold, hard, painful truth, and he knows they can handle it.
And we are back. This is Tipping Point. Thanks for joining us. It's Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock. That's our new time slot. And I am much, much appreciative to our local Fox affiliate giving us this great spot. We were at 9 o'clock p.m., 2100 hours for you military types, you law enforcement types, all you really cool, jivey people I like to hang out with. And now we're at 1500, which is really good because we have a lot of veterans that are at least up at that time or, you know, moving about in the car. It's kind of like a nice drive time, a nice time when you're hanging out there in Tahoe, you're over at the Truckee, you're down there, one of my favorite places over at Pyramid Lake, doing the cool stuff, hanging out with the family. Don't forget to listen to Tipping Point Boone Cutler 1500 on Saturdays. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook too. That's Facebook. You'll find me at Tipping Point Boone Cutler. Had a nice message the other day from a gentleman asking me some questions. He's a local business owner here in Reno, Vietnam veteran, and he's hiring veterans too, which I thought was fantastic. And he just kind of popped off and said, hey, Boone, I really like the show out there. I'm going to give a shout out to him right now. I can't remember his name right now, but I think he's got a spa company. He sells spas locally. Just much appreciated that you would take the time, ask a question about helping out a warfighters coming back, giving back to the brotherhood. That's why I like to call it taking care of the warfighter family. Okay, let's get on to the next segment. The next segment, we've got some very, very disheartening news right now, and that is the suicide rate's going up. Could it be that Mefloquine is a contributing factor? Could it be that the economy is a contributing factor? Because here's some knowledge from the warfighter perspective that a lot of people really aren't dialed into, and the knowledge kind of looks like this. Right now, the military is getting rid of a whole bunch of people. They're calling it a drawdown, but it's not a drawdown because they're going to maintain many of the same numbers. They just want new blood. So if you've been serving this country for the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, and maybe you've had a couple ricky-ticky incidences here and there, you've broken this, twisted that, well, guess what? Somebody says you're not on the Army team anymore. You got to go. Maybe you had some behavioral issues. They're saying you're not on the Army team anymore. You got to go. Maybe you've been late a few times. Maybe you had a little bit of problem with the alcohol. Well, guess what? You've been under a lot of stress. Things have been a little rough. You've been on your third marriage now. Your kids have left you. But you're not on the Army team. You got to go. And here's my big soapbox statement about that. They're right. You're not on the Army team. They don't want you around. The reason they don't want you around is because the military has to stay very lean, mean, and strong. Bottom line is, that's our national security. It has to be that way. The military has projections. They understand that over a certain amount of time, if you've had certain injuries, if you've developed PTSD, if you have your traumatic brain injury, maybe it's part of the Mefloquine. They know after a certain amount of time, you are going to start self-destructing and degrading after all this trauma, after all this abuse, after all this pain. And so they say, it's time to go. You got to roll. Because we got to get some people in here that can last a little bit longer than you. You've been used up. I'm sorry, but you're not on the Army team anymore. And that's the same with the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, across the board. That's what's happening. So where do we go? They're just putting us on the street. And at a total number of 350,000 in America. I don't agree with it. I understand it. I get that it's about our national security. And we've made those sacrifices. So who's going to take up the slack? Who's going to be the person that stands up and says, I will help you through that purgatory of transition? Will it be like the local guys here that owns the spa, who's a Vietnam veteran? He says, hey, I'm going to hire a veteran. I don't care what type of issues he's got going on. I'm going to be there for him. Like Gene Lumsden did for me at Legacy Sports International. I'm going to be there for him. Who's going to take up the slack? Because we've got no place to go. Our military family will soon be completely cut off from us. Chances of retirement cut off from us. Our civilian families oftentimes abandon us. So what are we going to do? It's not the military's job to help us transition. Get that out of your brains. But it is America's responsibility to take care of their own. because you would have nothing had we not taken care of you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not over yet. The responsibility comes down to each of us because we're not on the Army team anymore and we don't have a home. We need your help. We don't deserve your discrimination. And let me explain what discrimination against the American warfighter looks like in one instance. It looks like this: competing for a job. It's a simple task. A lot of people in America do it. Right now, many people are doing it. And the warfighter has a lot of skills that a lot of employers need. However, it looks like this. This is what's really happening. This is the most despicable discrimination I can possibly think about. Because that warfighter just comes off active duty, dealing with all kinds of stuff, just trying to find a home, a mission, and a battle buddy. They try and get a job to provide for their family. Here's my resume, Mr. Business Owner. And side by side, there's this other guy, just graduated maybe from UNR. Maybe from UCLA somewhere, maybe from somewhere back east, maybe from a community college, TMCC, maybe got a 2-year degree, gives up his resume or her resume. Boss looks at both of them. Hey, I kind of like this stuff. And then without anything else being said overtly, there's a human resources manager that works at that business and says, hey, boss man, let me make you aware of some things you may not realize. That guy that just got out of the military, he's going to be having some problems. He might have PTSD. He might have a head injury. Those guys are violent. Those guys are angry. We appreciate their service, but we shouldn't incur that type of liability. And just like that, without another word, these guys decide. That person with that degree, had a little bit of college, they're getting the job, and the warfighter's getting slided right down the road. Right now, the American warfighter has an unemployment rate in the veteran community that is twice that of the civilian community. Even though we have all these skills that every employer looks for, we're not getting hired. Pourquoi, I say? We're not getting hired because they discriminate. We are a novelty in America. They want to talk to us, sit in front of us, maybe get that feeling, maybe have feel safe. Hey, this is my new buddy. They go home at night and sit around the table and talk with the family. This veteran came in today and guess what? He's served 3 tours. It's like meeting Chuck E. Cheese or something. But they're not going to give you a job because you're a liability. The American warfighter is a novelty in this country right now, and we're coming home at a rate of 350,000. And where are we going to go? Because the VA is completely deficient on taking care of our medical care because they're just overburdened, understaffed. The VA corporate office here, the regional office here in Reno, Nevada, right now, they have slots for 100 people to work, process claims, make sure you're getting your cash, make sure you're getting your money. But they're short 30 people to process those claims. 30. A third of their staff doesn't even exist. Why? Because Congress won't pass a budget. Therefore, they're in a hiring freeze. So a guy comes active duty, injured, goes down to the VA, has to wait. Turns in his claim, processing his disability claim for injuries sustained in combat, protecting this country. And right now, they're backlogged 7 months. Beyond the crazy wait they were waiting. What do you think they're going to do? You think that warfighter didn't go home every day after trying to find a job and his wife is going, honey, you better find a job. He can't. So he's getting pressure from the family. Can't get a job. Goes to the VA and says, I'm having a few problems right now. Could you help me out? Yeah, sure. We'll put this claim. Then sign here, date at the bottom. We'll get you squared away. Well, how long is it going to be? I'm in a panic. They're getting ready to turn off my electricity. My water's getting shut off. My wife's getting ready to leave me. Well, I'm sorry. Right now, we're backlogged 7 months. You would kill yourself if you were in that instance. Can't sleep at night? Don't tell me how you have bad dreams. Don't tell me how you're under a little bit of stress and, it's hard to sleep at night and you can't do without a couple glasses of wine. Shut your mouth. You have no idea what it's like to not be able to sleep at night. Homelessness, largest increase in rise in America of any veteran generation is right now. What are we going to do? 350,000 warfighters. We call this the 200K clash. That's why I was calling it months ago. And that's going to be the social clash because many of these warfighters are going to come face to face with law enforcement. There's going to be a problem. And there is a problem in our country. People, you better think about this because we're not going away. Thank you for putting your yellow ribbon sticker on your bumper. Mwah. Much appreciated. Can we get a job? Can you call your congressman and say, hey, Jagoff, why don't you pass a budget so our warfighters can get their damn disability? This isn't an entitlement. This is what the deal is. It's your end of the deal. Don't tell me about this liberal agenda and, well, those guys, they made a decision. They had a choice. They didn't have to go in the military. Why should they get extra? Well, here's the deal. It ain't extra. It's not extra. We wouldn't be in that condition if it wasn't something we did for you. We did our piece. You agreed to do your piece. This is the same old argument. I mean, it's happened World War II, Korea, Vietnam, everything in between. Same old argument. We're making the same mistakes. And now there's going to be this demonizing effect. I'm telling you right now, there's going to be this demonizing effect because warfighters are going to be getting in problematic issues. And everybody's going to say, it's because the war damaged us. It's not the war that damaged us. It's what our country did to us after we got home. Sit your ass in the seat. We'll be right back.
Are you ready for probably the best name I've heard in a business in a long time? It's going to make you giggle. Are you ready for this?
What is it?
Here we go. Bunkies, Bama, Blankies, and Stuff. Just try and say
Bunkies, Blama.
No, you got it wrong. Bunkies, Bama, Blankies, and Stuff.
Bunkies, Bama, Blankies, and Stuff.
There you go. You know those paracord bracelets? Very, very popular with the military. Well, that's the kind of stuff they do. You've seen all these things. You know what they're all about. But give us the rundown.
Seems like they've got fleece stuff, they've got pet collars, they've got bracelets, of course, just tons of great gifts for your loved ones.
That's right. Bunkies, Bama, Blankies, and Stuff. How do we get in touch with them?
Give them a call, 205-765-9140, or hit up facebook.com/Bama Bunkie.
Bama Bunkie.
Bama Bunkie.
I understand free shipping for anything over $100 and free shipping to anybody that's active duty military. Is that correct?
Absolutely. You can go online. If you're an active duty service member, you can send gifts home.
Taking care of our warfighters. There you go. Bunkies, Bama, Blankies, and Stuff. Make it happen.
And if you ask her why the heck she wore it.
Gruntstyle.com. That's right. It's time to give away the Grunt Style t-shirts. Go to gruntstyle.com right now. Copy and paste the beer guarantee into an email. Send that email to nevadamatters@gmail.com along with your mailing address and your shirt size, and we will send a free Grunt Style t-shirt to the first 2 people that send us an email right now. Make it happen. Gruntstyle.com. Send the email to nevadamatters@gmail.com. One of the most significant things I've ever been through since I've been back from the war is going through a divorce. As a combat veteran with post-traumatic stress disorder, that was used against me. If you're in the same situation, I want you to consider using Sarah Hardy Cooper. When the deck is stacked against you and you're a warfighter, I think you should call Sarah Hardy Cooper. And honestly, I don't think I could have won without her. Of course, nothing is guaranteed, but I don't think I could have won without her. She's fantastic. I want you to take down this number, 888-792-4363. This is no joking matter. You know that your future is in the balance. And when the cards are stacked against you, you need Sarah Hardy Cooper. 888-792-4363.
Hi, this is Fred Wager, Commander of the Disabled American Veterans of Nevada. And I invite you to listen to Tipping Point online on 99.1 FM Talk, Fox News Radio.
And we are back. This is Fox News Radio, KKFT 99.1 FM Talk, Northern Nevada's #1 FM Talk station. Listen, if you're not trying to find me on Facebook at Tipping Point with Boone Cutler, you're just doing the wrong thing. It's not a hard thing to figure out. It's Tipping Point with Boone Cutler. Go find it, like it, and pay attention to the stuff I'm talking about. I'm up late. You can talk to me, send me an email. You can get, hey, go Boone. You get whatever you want. Hey, Boone, you're a jag-off. You're pushing it too far. I don't care. But you know what? If you're not finding me on Facebook, you're about as wrong as Sharia law. I'll just put it that way. Okay, I'm going to throw some numbers at you because I've been doing this little rant for the last segment or so. I'm talking about suicide, and a lot of people don't really get how big it is. Okay, let me throw some veteran statistics at you. The veteran suicide rate, and I'm surprised that not every human being in the country doesn't know this, but the veteran suicide rate is roughly 18 a day. That's 1 every 80 minutes. Now, that's a shocking number. 1 every 80 minutes. That's a shocking number. But what's more shocking is only 8 states in the United States reported from the VA, their statistics, their numbers. So that number, that's right. Out of every state in America, only 8 of them reported. The others, I guess it's like Obama in the Senate, no vote, okay? So they didn't even sound off. The number could easily be 4 times higher. Easily be 4 times higher. The numbers recently just came out for the active duty community, those still in uniform today under contract. In the first 155 days of 2012, there were 154 active duty suicides. That's 1 every day. Last year it was 1 every 36 hours. This year it appears to be 1 every 24 hours on active duty. That's amazing. And I bet as you're sitting there listening to it, you're driving in your car, I don't know, maybe you're out in the Stead, maybe you're out in Tahoe, maybe you're listening to, all the way over in Sacramento, or maybe you're somewhere on Kitsky, Virginia, the 395, 80, I don't know where you're at, but listen to me. If this is the first time you've heard these numbers, I ask why. Because bad cantaloupe this last year killed 17 people, and everybody knows about bad cantaloupe. You ever heard of something called the H1N1 virus? Yeah, everybody's heard about that. How many of you heard about the veteran suicide rate? Why is it not a national outrage? Here's the bigger number. For every warfighter killed in combat, killed in action, 2 commit suicide. We have a greater likelihood of killing ourselves than we do of being killed by the enemy. Why are these factors being thrown around this way? What is happening? What are the contributing issues to the suicide? Because you know what? I hear a lot of punks out there saying, this generation, they're just not as hard as we were way back when. You know what? If I was on the radio, I would tell you to do vile things to yourself for that mentality. Because we spend so much time actually under fire. If you go back and you look at the statistics of World War II, how much time the guys in World War II actually spent under fire, it's not nearly what it was in Vietnam. And that's the God's honest truth. There were a few people doing a lot of heavy lifting in World War II, and God bless them. My grandfather, World War II veteran, captured on Saipan, spent 5 years in a POW camp. Much appreciation. Our warfighters from Vietnam, man, a lot of combat time. Today, a lot of combat time. 2, 3. I'm a wimp. I only did 1 tour, and I medevaced out before the end of my tour. I didn't do my full 12 months. I am a wuss. Other guys, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tours. On and on and on. Major combat exposure as a way of life. We are the descendants of Sparta. We are the samurai society of America. This war is our profession. It is the way we live. It is ingrained in us. And many of us feel like we can't do anything but war. Now, I said after the withdrawal from Iraq that there would be a significant suicide increase. And I was right, because you took the mission away from the warfighter. We're about to get ready to pull out of Afghanistan. And again, we're going to take the mission from the warfighter. And there's 2 things every warfighter needs, a mission and a battle buddy. And there's 2 things we lose when we get put on the street. We lose the mission, we lose the battle buddy. That's why the Spartan Pledge is so important. If you don't know about the Spartan Pledge, Google it. Go figure it out. Go to descendantsofsparta.com. Figure that out. Go look at it. If you're a warfighter, hey, you need to come to this side because we got a mission, we got battle buddies, and we're ready to roll. Come hang. It's not any foo-foo stuff. It's not any Dr. Phil crap. It's straight up. It's back into the warrior ethos. And that's where we got to stay alive. Active duty, sharp increase on things like domestic violence, bad behavior related to drugs, alcohol. These are impact indicators of a way of life that is coming to an end. And we need America's help. We've been here for you. You know, I have so much respect for every warfighter that joined the military after 9/11 because they weren't doing it for the college money. You know, you could say what you want to say about every generation, about how this generation is weak and they've had it frilly and fluffy and all this other stuff. You know what? That's a bunch of crap because we're the people that started the no-fear generation. X Games, all that kind of stuff, adrenaline, high energy, pushing those envelopes. Weakness? Soft? Are you kidding me? Get over yourself. Far from soft, far from weak. We go find challenges when we don't have to. And of that generation, look at other things. Spartan Challenge, Tough Mudder. I mean, it's all about pushing the envelope. And America needs to tap into that because we got a lot of work to do to bring this economy back, to bring back ethics into politics. Honor. The American warfighter is by far the most honorable group of people in the country. Done deal. Bank on it. There was a recent poll, it was probably about a year ago, and it was, who does America believe in? Who inspires America? And you know what? It was not what was once seen as the heroes of Hollywood. It was no longer the politicians. It was no longer those living in Washington. Who does America respect? The American warfighter. That's who America respects, and they should. And I'm saying to every warfighter out there, we got to get our house in order. We have to take care of one another. Just like we did over there, we got to do it here. And if you're one of these Uncle Tom warfighters that, I can hang on both sides of the fence. No, you can't. No, you can't. You're either with us or you're not. You remember those guys in country, Blue Falcons? Well, they're over here too. Stay away from them because they're the same people they were there. We got to hang with each other. CTE, is a major factor of the suicide. That's chronic traumatic encephalopathy. If I said it wrong, oh well. Today, I was listening to the news, they're saying several NFL players have gone to the NFL saying, hey, you know what, we need to be compensated for these head injuries we've had because just like Junior Seau commits suicide, because CTE, this protein that builds up in the brain, pushes you towards a self-destruct factor. The stuff Dr. Nevin was talking about with Mefloquine. Let me see. Decreased ability for self-preservation, impulsiveness, aggression, blackouts. I was talking to Dr. Nevin another time off air, and I said, hey, Doc, if you stack PTSD, TBI, and Mefloquine, what happens? He says you get a synergistic effect. That means they build on each other. And I will put the term on it right now. It's like somebody pushed your self-destruct button. If you're a warfighter, you've been over there, you come home, and you wake up every day going, damn, you're mad at God because you woke up again? Hey, guess what? We're all in the same boat. We're all feeling it. You're not special in that case. If you're a guy that maybe didn't go over there, volunteered, put your name on the line, but you just went where your country told you and it wasn't in a combat zone, and you still wake up that way, well, just keep in mind, Lariam's out there, Mefloquine, it's in your head too, in your brain, little lesions on your brainstem that reduce your ability to literally want to live. And I say we're going to overcome every damn bit of it. We are going to rally, and we're going to take this country to the next level because you cannot beat us. Do not assimilate. That's my message. Sit your ass in the seat. We'll be right back.
Once every 45 minutes, one of our military veterans attempts to take their own life. Every 80 minutes, one of them succeeds. The Tranquil Valley Sanctuary, located in southern Idaho, provides a safe place where broken horses and broken veterans can heal together and hopefully reduce this horrific number. Through the use of equine therapy, America's veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, severe depression, as well as chemical addiction now have a second chance at a normal civilian life free from the shackles of PTSD, depression, drugs, or alcohol. They can't do it without your help. Your generous gift of $100 will feed one horse for an entire month. A mere $25 will sponsor a therapy session for one veteran. The Tranquil Valley Sanctuary provides hope, healing, and recovery for those veterans who feel they have no place left to turn. Make your donation online today at tranquilvalleysanctuary.org. The Tranquil Valley Sanctuary is a 501c3 organization. Donate online at tranquilvalleysanctuary.org.
Come check out one of the Truckee Meadows' best-kept secrets, the Reno Town Mall. Located at 4001 South Virginia, the Reno Town Mall is just steps from the Reno Sparks Convention Center and is home to a variety of merchants, including a full-service grocery store, the all-new Food Source. Other tenants at the Reno Town Mall include the Washoe County Library, Burlington Coat Factory, Hong Kong Nails, Judy's Dance Shop, Milka's Hair Design, and the New Horizons Computer Learning Center.
This unique urban mall will fit in perfectly with your busy lifestyle. Stop at the Aroma Club Cafe for your morning coffee, or perhaps a quick business lunch at Round Table Pizza. Check out the great works of China Import Store. The Reno Town Mall is also home to the Reno Sparks Convention and Visitors Authority and Nevada Matters Media. Come join the audience as we record live radio shows. Stop by the Reno Town Mall today for the best Reno has to offer. For more information, visit us online at renotownmall.org.
This is Frey Dog, United States Marine combat veteran, Fallujah 2004. You're listening to Tipping Point with my battle buddy, Boone Cutler.
And we are back. This is Boone Cutler. Tipping Point, Boone Cutler on Fox News Radio, KKFT, 99.1 FM Talk, Northern Nevada's #1 talk station on the FM dial. Okay, now listen, some of you are going to be a little bit confused out there because I just said at the end of the last break, do not assimilate. What does that mean? What that means is if you're a warfighter, you have to understand that you are a superior human being. Period. End of story. End of discussion. Don't even talk to me about it. A superior human being just because not only did you have the ability, but you had the desire to do something, to serve a cause greater than yourself, especially during a time of war since 9/11 or at any other time in our history. So if you've done that, just understand that you shouldn't feel bad about yourself. You shouldn't feel like, gee, I have to do this in lieu of other things, and you don't have any options. Here's the deal. You are a superior human being because other people will not take those types of risks. They won't. They can't. They don't have what it takes, and you do. I tell warfighters all the time, do not assimilate. Stay inside your battle mind. Don't get rid of it. Stay inside what keeps you alive in combat. Don't try and become a civilian. Why would a lion ever want to be a rat just because the world is full of rats? It makes no sense to me. But that's what the world tells you. That's what America tells you. Hey, guess what? You're getting out of the military, you're coming home. Well, it's time to come to the real world now, they say. It's time to be a civilian now. It's time to let that stuff go. We don't let that stuff go. That's not what we did. That's who we are. It's not going to go away. It's counterproductive to even try. I say, be the warfighter that you are. The warrior ethos. You know what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter what branch of service you come from. That warrior ethos on this side of the wire is what keeps us alive. A warfighter needs two things to survive in any operational environment. That's a battle buddy and a mission. Think about it. No matter where you've been deployed anywhere in the world, the two things that you had that made everything okay was a battle buddy, one of those team members, and a mission in front of you, something to conquer. It's the same thing here. That's what we do. And people that tell you to do something different are just wrong. So I preach the gospel. Do not assimilate. Now, does that make me a separatist? Does that make me some kind of, radical human being? Yeah, by some standards, people may say so. To me, it means I know what it takes to stay alive. And I've done it thus far. And the other people that I see doing the same thing are doing the same thing. They maintain their battle mind. That's how we live. So if you are a civilian out there listening to this broadcast right now thinking, hey, screw that guy, Boone Cutler, he's kind of taking things, he's a little radical. He's telling people that they need to not be part of America. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying be part of America, but be the leadership of America. Don't follow all these civilians that couldn't hack it where we've been. Why would you do that? You follow each other. If they want to come along, so be it. Let them come along. We will happily engage you. We will happily accept you. Don't expect us to follow you. You have failed. You continue to fail. Most Americans in the civilian community fail repeatedly. Look around. Look at everything that is screwed up. They fail. Why would we follow them? America needs leadership above all right now. Above everything, America needs leadership. That's what we do. We lead. So buck up and lead. Leaders lead, period, end of story. Don't follow this civilian culture. Be a warfighter in civilian clothes. Don't be an Uncle Tom warfighter. Don't be a Blue Falcon. You know what I mean by that. Be a warfighter. Do it every day and be proud of yourselves. Because America has not heard the stories from this war. Everybody knows everything seemingly about World War II. I know me as a kid, I have seen every single thing probably ever documented on the Vietnam War. My father's a Vietnam veteran. Nobody knows anything about us. What have they seen? Maybe Restrepo, maybe that other one, the Hurt Locker. That's it. That's what they think. That's what they know. Well, our story will soon come out. And when it does, do not be one of the ones that has fallen off the side and didn't take up a leadership role. Because America is going to follow. We have been through tremendous amounts of pain. We have followed rules of engagement that were ridiculous to a fault. The frustration we have dealt with in other countries while defending this country and bringing freedom and what should have been liberty to others is literally, dare I say, heroic. And America does not know the stories. They've seen a few amputees here and there. They feel sorry, but they don't know the stories. They don't know the stories. I'll tell you one right now. I was stationed in Sadr City, Iraq. It's a bad, bad, bad place. Wrote a book about it. Doing a rewrite on the book. I heard a story recently where this one warfighter had a break in contact. They're doing a patrol, steps off into a corner, pulls security. Patrol picks up, walks off, doesn't realize they walked off. It happens. You get tired. You get hyper-focused on one spot and, buddies picked up and left you. Now, that situation right there goes bad real quick because there are eyes everywhere in that city. It's 2.5 million people in the nastiest little box you ever seen in your life. It's not like a movie. You see this guy walking around, jumps over the wire and goes sees a house. And it's not like that. That's not even close to realistic because when they see an American, you're tortured. You're dead. It's done. Okay. Patrol. It's just really ridiculous. People don't know. But what happens if you guys go back and pick up that buddy and bring him back out? Now, Sadr City was a place that, let me put it this way. Other places in the country, extremely violent, extremely horrible, rough, toe-to-toe fights on a constant basis. But Solder City, there was a rule. You had to have 4 gun trucks to be in Solder City on a patrol. Anything less than 4 gun trucks, it was a guaranteed ambush. Ask a lot of people. Now, there were guys that would roll through every now and then, but you just don't patrol with less than 4 trucks. Every place else in the country, and I'm not taking anything away from anybody, because believe me, guys up there in Tikrit, guys in Kadamia, guys Salman Pak, down in the south end, rough. But Solder City, bottom line was everybody knew you had to have 4 gun trucks. Guys going back for their own, willing to fight overwhelming odds to take care of each other. These stories just have not been told. There are so many heroic stories coming out of Afghanistan and Iraq that we know amongst each other, but because we're humble, we don't talk about it. But these stories will come out. And this time we're telling our own story. We're writing our own history. We're not going to let Hollywood do it. We're doing it ourselves so you can get the real deal. Myself, my team, I remember breaking guys out of jail to save their lives. And these were Iraqis. Many, many, many stories that you have not heard yet that will come out. And I'm telling every warfighter that's listening right now, stay alive. Take up a leadership position. Take the Spartan Pledge. If you don't know what it is, go find it. Look up descendantsof-Sparta.com. Learn the pledge. Find your battle buddies. Link up. Find your mission. That's what we do. This last week, I was at this conference. There's people out there that are willing to help, and I think they're going to come from the law enforcement community, specifically hostage negotiators. The Western States Hostage Negotiator Association was in Reno, Nevada this last week, and I was brought in as a guest speaker, as a consultant, along with Carl Monger from Gallant Few, Sean Gorley, who wrote the book, The War at Home, One Family's Fight with PTSD. And we had 200 of America's crisis negotiators in law enforcement listening to us. And I will go anywhere and talk about this subject. And I don't just give the, hey, we've got PTSD, can you help us out and be a little bit softer? No, I go into what happens when you have PTSD combined with Mefloquine, combined with TBI, under the conditions of, say, benzodiazepines, how that warfighter is different than the same conditions, same physical ailments when you're under the guise of, like, alcohol, or if you are in just certain psych meds, and how we act differently under these different chemicals. What it is to be triggered or activated, what a flashback looks like, how it feels, and how law enforcement can help with these things and not escalate the situation. Because America, here's what we got. These 350,000 warfighters are coming home, and when we have clashes with law enforcement, here's what it means. It means big dog, fear bite, somebody dies. Big dog, fear bite, somebody dies. So law enforcement agencies and organizations are actually coming up with appropriate tactics for the situation. And I thank you. Thank you, Wishna. Thank you, Washoe County Sheriff's Department. Thank you. You have done the right thing. You are being proactive and taking care of the greatest of this generation. That's this show. I don't have any more to say. I'm out of time. But remember, check me out on Facebook. That's Tipping Point Boone Cutler. And if you like what you hear right now, you're a local sponsor. You know what? I'm not doing this here because people are giving me airtime. We're a sponsored show. If you're a warfighter, if you're a veteran business, not a problem. Contact the station. Contact me, Tipping Point Boone Cutler. I'll put you in touch with the guys that do the ads. I'll make your ad myself. We'll play it every week. Remember, a warfighter needs 2 things to survive in any operational environment. It's a battle buddy and a mission. All the way. Make it happen.
Than me being punished for doing anything to survive. Now that's a war crime. Y'all not taking care of your own. You people turning your backs on the ones who fought. Now that's a war crime.
Hi, this is Elaine Voigt with My Journey Home, and I wanted to make everybody aware of the computers that we have for sale. The sponsors of the veteran shows here on 99.1 are sponsoring veterans. For $150, you can buy a veteran computer, mouse, monitor, and keyboard. So they have a computer to use at home, then it's loaded with Microsoft Word 7 and Microsoft Office 2007. You can reach us on our Facebook page, which is myjourneyhomenv.org, or you can reach us at our office at 825-8118, 825-8118, and those computers are also available for anybody who needs one at home. They're $150. You can get a mouse, keyboard, monitor, computer.
Plus, all the training required to get that veteran back into the workplace and back into society. Plus, remember, listen to all of our veteran shows right here on 99.1 FM Talk, Fox News Radio. That's Tipping Point with Boone Cutler, The Wounded Veteran with Bill Thomas, and Situation Report with Dr. Robert Primo.
Once every 45 minutes, one of our military veterans attempts to take their own life. Every 80 minutes, one of them succeeds. The Tranquil Valley Sanctuary, located in southern Idaho, provides a safe place where broken horses and broken veterans can heal together and hopefully reduce this horrific number. The Tranquil Valley Sanctuary provides hope, healing, and recovery for those veterans who feel they have no place left to turn. Make your donation online today at tranquilvalleysanctuary.org.
This is Kim Surratt, host of Family Matters, reminding you to tune in to Family Matters every Sunday night at 6 p.m., where we discuss various family law-related topics and issues brought to you by Surratt Law Practice. Do you have questions or comments for any of the experts heard here on Family Matters? Send a question to our Facebook page at facebook.com/SurrattLaw or tweet us at SurrattLaw. Family Matters Radio, heard right here on 99.1 FM Talk, your Fox News radio station.